good to see you today. We're going to be thinking about Absalom. Our hymn today is As the Life of a Flower.
As the life of a flower has a breath or a sigh, so the years that we live as a dream hasten by. True, today we are here, but tomorrow may see just a grave in the vale and a memory of me. As the life of a flower has a breath, or a sigh, so the years glide away, and alas, we must die.
Appreciate it, Lee. Verse 2, As the life of a flower be our lives pure and sweet, may we brighten the way for the friends that we greet, and sweet incense arise from our hearts as we live, close to him who doth teach us to love and forgive. Verse 3, While we tarry below, let us trust and adore him who leads us each day toward the radiant shore, where the sun never sets and the flowers never fade, where no sorrow or death may its borders invade. As the life of a flower. We're in 2 Samuel today. As I said, we're thinking about Absalom, and in chapter 13, we have, after this, Absalom, the son of David, had a lovely sister whose name was Tamar. If you're familiar with the account, you know how horrible it is. And as things happen, at the end of chapter 13, we have Absalom murdering, and remember, this is David's son. David's son murders Amnon, and it's all in the family, isn't it? Chapter 14, Absalom, and actually let's go back to chapter 13. After he murders Amnon, he's going to flee to Geshur. Chapter 14, he returns to Jerusalem. He comes back after, I believe, quite a bit of time, and David forgives him. You might think about how our hymn spoke about forgiveness. Takes him back. Chapter 15, this is how Absalom behaves himself. After this had happened, that he provides himself with chariots and horses, and he's going to stage a coup. And he's, for a time at least, because David's going to run for it, he's going to take the kingdom from his own father, who welcomed him back. And so, it's a sad thing. He steals the people's hearts. Verse 13, Now a messenger came to David, saying, The hearts of the men of Israel are with Absalom. Absalom had his choices to make, and he did not make good choices. It's a sad account, and when it's all said and done, Absalom's going to be killed. And David is going to mourn for Absalom. But Absalom had his choices to make. And I don't know why he's making these choices. I don't know why he would treat his father like this. Of course, David wasn't perfect. And that's recognized. But Absalom's got his own choices to make. And his father's going to have to run for the hills, basically. We all have our own choices to make. We all have our own choices to make. But we better recognize that today we are here, but tomorrow we may see just a grave in the vale and the memory of ourselves. So the years glide away, and alas, we must die, as the life of a flower. You might think about what the Lord says about the grass in the New Testament, and but you might just think about the brevity of life. Absalom, he didn't realize just how brief his life was going to be. He's making his choices, but he is certainly not preparing for the ever after, is he? He's living for the now. So as it goes on, though, there's another individual that comes up as David has to escape. Verse 14, arise, let us flee. The king's servants said to the king, we are your servants, ready to do whatever my lord the king commands. People are choosing sides. And so these folks are saying to the king, to David, we're with you. The king went out with all his household after him, but the king left 10 women concubines to keep the house. And the king went out with all the people after him and stopped at the outskirts. Then all his servants passed before him, and all the Cherethites, and the Pelethites, and the Gittites, 600 men who had followed him from Gath. Remember where Gath is? We're talking about Philistines. Passed before the king. Then the king said to Ittai, either Ittai or Ithai, according to how to pronounce it, the Gittite, why are you also going with us? Return and remain with the king, for you are a foreigner and also an exile from your own place. In fact, you only came yesterday. Should I make you wander up and down with us today, since I go, I know not where? Return and take your brethren back. Mercy and truth be with you. But Ittai answered the king and said, as the Lord lives, and as my lord the king lives, surely in whatever place my lord the king shall be, whether in death or life, even there also your servant will be. So David said to Ittai, go and cross over. Then Ittai the Gittite and all his men and all the little ones who were with him crossed over, and the country wept with a loud voice. I just thought it was a wonderful account because it has such a strong resemblance to Ruth. What Ruth says, where you go, I will go. Where you die, I will die. Your God will be my God. Your people will be my people. David tells Ittai, go back. You just got here yesterday. You didn't realize all this was going to happen. And so go back. And make no mistake, they are headed out of town. They are crossing, I believe it's the brook Kidron, I believe is what it said. And so he's going to actually, I believe, go the Mount of Olives, and they are headed east. And that's what's happening. And Ittai says, nope, I'm not going back. I'm coming with you. As the Lord lives, and as my lord the king lives, in whatever place my lord the king shall be, whether in death or life, even there also your servant will be. And so David says, go and cross over. And what he's basically saying is, come on, let's go. And so Ittai the Gittite and all his men and all the little ones who were with him crossed over. And I just thought it was a wonderful thing. Ittai had his own choices to make. Absalom had his choices to make. And Ittai had his own choices to make. And he's making them. And he's choosing to be with David. Might think about the choices we make, who we stand with and who we will not stand with. Now let's talk about David's choices. Verse 24, there is Zadok also, the high priest, and all the Levites with him, bearing the ark of the covenant. And they set down the ark of God, and Abiathar went up until all the people had finished crossing over from the city. And then the king said to Zadok, carry the ark of God back into the city. If I find favor in the eyes of the Lord, he will bring me back and show me both it and his dwelling place. But if he says thus, I have no delight in you, here I am, let him do to me as seems good to him. The king also said to Zadok the priest, are you not a seer? Return to the city in peace. Take your sons with you. Verse 28, see, I'm going to wait in the plains of the wilderness until word comes from you to inform me. And so they take the ark back to Jerusalem, and they remain there. They were going to come with David, and David says, take it back to Jerusalem. Take the ark back. If this is from the Lord's hand, if the Lord is punishing me, and if the Lord's not pleased with me, I'm in his hands. And frankly, I don't know if what he's saying is, if I'm in the Lord's hands, the ark's not going to do me any good anyway, because the power's not in the ark, the power's in the Lord. And so, take it back to Jerusalem. David had his own choices to make. And this trouble is arising from his own family. And so here he is, and he's making hard choices. and he's having to flee. He's having to flee Jerusalem. He's having to flee the city of David. And of course, ultimately, it's God's choices that really matter. And that's what he says. When he says, if he says thus, I have no delight in you, here I am, let him do to me as seems good to him. We all have choices to make. The Lord has choices to make. And so we choose what the Lord chooses is what we need to do. We choose the Lord. That's what we need to do. We follow him. And by God's grace, we are what we are. As the life of a flower. What is man? What is our life like? It's like a vapor. And we prepare. We get ourselves ready to face the Lord. Absalom, Ittai, and David. Appreciate you. Hope you have a good day. Join us tomorrow for another portion of our daily praise.